Hi, this is Mariah Gullo from The Hollywood Reporter, and we're in studio today with Ricky Martin. Hi,
Hello, everyone.
Ricky.
Hey, what's
How
going on?
are you?
Good, good. Thank you very much.
We're here to talk about the assassination of Gianni Versace. Can you let me know what it takes to create a real-life character like the one you play in Gianni Versace?
It was very intense, and of course, it's a big responsibility. But luckily, I had the opportunity to talk to Antonio Amico himself, and
You did.
he was incredibly generous. And
Yeah.
and I told him, I know this was 20 years ago, and I know you've been through a lot, but all I want to do is shed some light into what you had with Gianni and what you represented in his life. So I beg you, please, I'm going to be asking some tough questions, but it's all for the good of the story. And I'm going to leave my soul in front of the camera every day. I promise you will be proud of this. And because it was a very important story to tell. I mean, at the end of the day, if you see everything that was going around his life, was full of injustice. And at this point of my life, I need to tell stories that make a difference. And so, going back to Antonio, he was very helpful. He was very generous. Like I said, he would tell me everything that he was feeling, that he went through when it happened, and afterwards. So that's why it was so powerful for me to start the story and be able to close it with him trying to kill himself. It was incredibly powerful, very intense. I don't know what an easy scene is in
Yes.
this project.
Yes, you had no easy scenes
I had no
in this
easy
project.
scenes. But then again, I always felt protected. I was, obviously working with Ryan, incredible directors, great writers, and of course, an incredible group of actors that were there with me at all times. So all I wanted was to, like I said, talk on behalf that are not being heard. Unfortunately, nowadays, we still deal with homophobia, and I think it's not how he died, it's why we allowed it to happen. I mean, unfortunately, this man went on a killing spree, Andrew Cunanan, and this guy was in the list of the FBI most wanted, and he was living in Miami Beach. He was not hiding, and he found Gianni. So I said, let's do this, and let's do it right.
Yes. One of the things I noticed was the parallels between two of your scenes, one that happens in the beginning and one that happens at the end. In the beginning, you're cradling Versace as he's dying.
Yes.
And in the end, you're being cradled by a maid when she finds you overdosing.
Listen, but I didn't think about it until you tell me.
That wasn't intentional.
It wasn't intentional. Actually, when obviously we were in the villa right in Miami Beach when I did this, and when I run out, I asked Ryan, please, Ryan, let me hold him. I have to hold him. I don't know if this is what really happened in real life, but I need to hold him. I need to feel him. And Ryan said, please do it. Go ahead. And all of a sudden, it became something very beautiful and very powerful because it became like La Pietà.
Yes.
And then I talked to Antonio. He said, Ricky, no, that's not what happened, because he saw paparazzi shots of the moment. That's not what happened. I never hold him. I was not allowed to hold him.
Oh.
And I said, Antonio, we're not doing a photo of this. We're doing a painting. This is a canvas. We're adding colors. We're getting rid of colors. And there is, poetic license at the same time with all this. And it was my choice as an actor. I said, I'm sorry if you don't feel comfortable with that image, but it's something that I really needed. It was something very powerful. And then I was supported. Even Edgar Ramirez, who played Gianni Versace, he said, go ahead. If this is what you need to do, go ahead. And then, of course, Ryan said it was okay, so I just went for it completely. It was something that I needed to do.
Yes. Well, there's a lot of parallels between Greek tragedies and Versace's life. I mean, just his aesthetic was so much about classic beauty, classical art. And then, you have this story that is truly a tragedy for both of these men.
It's incredible. For many years, I'm going to share with you the first time I was able to do a television series. I was 15 years old. I was living in Argentina, and that's how acting came to my life, and I said, this is what I need. And then I went to Mexico and I did more theater and more television series. And then obviously I went to Broadway, and I was always seduced by acting. And people would ask me, Ricky, when are you going back to acting? Things with music was amazing. I was surfing that wave, and things were very powerful. I was enjoying every minute of it, and I still do. Music will always be there. But they would ask me, what are you going to do? When are you going back to music? And I said, I will go back to music when I'm surrounded by the right cast, by great directors, great producers, when I have the opportunity to tell the right story. Mm-hmm. You gotta be careful with what you wish for, because that's exactly what happened. Yeah. And yes, the art of Gianni Versace, the taste, some people call it flamboyant, some people call it, he was just very specific. And working with Ryan, it was incredibly beautiful, because he knew exactly what needed to be presented to the audience in order for it to be credible and real and honest and raw. So,
did you know much about Versace before you took on the role?
You know, I lived in Miami when this happened. Obviously, who didn't know Versace, right?
Sure.
But I lived in Miami, and I felt as a victim as well, because I was afraid of leaving my house because there was a crazy man killing gay men in the streets. And I thought I knew a lot, but of course I didn't until I started doing the research, and then I had the opportunity to talk to Antonio. But we were very loyal to the truth, and that is something that makes me proud of this production.
I know we've spoken about how the criminal side of it was handled and mishandled.
Right, of course.
But if there's a teachable moment in Versace's life, what do you think it would be? Like, what can he teach us?
Him being brave enough to come out of the closet and to introduce his partner and make it public. I tell you this, and my heart speed up, because I went through the same thing as a man, as a closeted gay man. And playing this part, I was standing on the other side of the fence, being. Do you know how many lovers I had that I hid from the public, that I did not allow anyone to see, because I was afraid? Because everybody told me, you know what, if you say you're gay, this is the end. Gianni Versace went through the same thing as well, and for me that was a lesson. You have to be strong, you have to be brave, and you have to be yourself, and you have to be proud of who you are, and not be afraid. That was my lesson.
Yeah. You know, one of the more heartbreaking things about the series is watching how your character is treated by the rest of the family. What was it like to play opposite Penelope Cruz as your main adversary?
I love Penelope.
Yeah, you're friends, right?
She's a goddess. Yeah. Yes, we've had the opportunity to work for many years on the philanthropic world. We worked in India in an orphanage, and that's how I met Penelope. I was very excited the moment she said, Ricky, I'm supposed to hate you, and I can't. We're doing something right. That's a good thing. But she's incredibly generous as an actress, and she was there with the right advice always. And I wouldn't change it for the world. For me to have such an important role, and to be with her and with Edgar, was very special.
Yeah.
She was trying to be kind, and she was, but when she needed to be tough in the scenes, she was. She was very firm and loyal about the story, but she was also friends with Donatella, so it was a very difficult.
So she was kind of able to get the inside drama from Donatella.
Exactly.
Knowing of Donatella.
Of course, and so for me, I mean, it was a blessing to be working with all these people. Like I said, it was. Edgar Ramirez said it once. Edgar said, "You know what, Ricky? We must have done something really good in life to be in this position today." To walk on stage every day, to spend 12 hours in front of the camera, and to look forward for what's coming next day. It was very, very beautiful.
Lovely. Well, I have a few questions for you before we wrap up. These are a bit separate from what we've been talking about. The first moment in your career where you've said, I've arrived.
Oh, well, okay. So I started when I was 12 years old. I became part of a music band, of a boy band. And the first time I walked on stage was in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And I walked on stage and I did everything I was not supposed to do. They told me you have to stand here and do not move because the light is where it's supposed to be. But I was so excited, I started moving from one place to the other. and then right after the show, the manager told me everything that I wanted to hear and then some. Everything that I did not want to hear, I'm sorry, and then some. So I learned. I said, okay, this is a new world. And what I loved about Menudo, that it was an incredible lesson. It taught me discipline. Obviously, it taught me about music. It taught me about drama, about acting. But July 10th, 1984.
Wow. It's pretty impressive to have your I made it moment be when you were 12.
well, for me, that was one moment that I will never forget.
Yeah.
And of course, I've been lucky enough. I've been working like crazy since I was 12 years old. And I know that I have so many beautiful moments to be able to go around the world and bring your culture around the world, and for people to get to understand a little bit more of what you're made of and who you are. It's something that this is what music brought me.
Yeah.
So it's like a present. And then obviously the Grammys, to be able to perform the Cup of Life. There was like a before and after that moment. Number one, that was my first Grammy. I was bringing Latin music into mainstream America. So that was, of course, that was a very beautiful page. But you know what? I'm still working. I'm still writing pages, and I hope there's a lot more to come, hopefully.
Yeah.
I hope.
Next question. Best celebrity impression you can do. Is there anybody you can impersonate?
Horrible. No, I don't think I can go there. No, I swear. I wish.
The last piece of great advice you've gotten.
I'm surrounded by great friends, and I'm surrounded by beautiful people that are constantly sharing knowledge.
Yeah.
I cannot name a specific one, but I don't lack love in my life. So that's a good
Sounds
thing.
like you're good at taking in advice.
Of course. The moment you think you know it all, that's it. That's when it's all downhill from there. You have to be sure of yourself, but you have to be humble.
Last question. The worst mishap on stage.
Tell me again. What
Like
does that mean?
the worst mistake that was made on stage. Did anything happen on stage that, like falling off the stage or?
Oh, well, you know what? That happens. I mean, that happens in your beginning of your career, and it could happen 20 years later. You just gotta be, it's not how you fall, it's how you stand up. It's how you get up from it. Or when you're in the middle of, you're doing a very dramatic scene in theater, which, is live, and you have a very tough audience in front of you every night, and all of a sudden, everything goes blank. You forget the lines, you forget everything. That also happens. Hopefully you will have a very professional partner next to you as an actor that will remind you or will improvise. Mm-hmm. I've been on both sides of the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's entertaining. You just have to be open to trip and stand up again.
Very well put.
I think.
Ricky Martin, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.